novel The Hunger Games, author Suzanne Collins imagines a dystopian world, far ahead in technology as can be seen in the capital, yet ravaged by war. In the world we live in now, threats exist everywhere, even inside our computers. And as Ashton Carter begins his term as Defensive Secretary, his two priorities should be the Islamic State and cyber warfare. For one, the Islamic State is a threat because it is well run and funded. According to the New York Times, ISIS has a leadership council, cabinet, and regional leaders. The local deputies are scattered across Iraq and Syria and report to the deputy of each county. Many of these officials were officials during Saddam Hussein's dictatorship rule over Syria. The strong and organized leadership of ISIS's over 200,000 plus fighters is what makes the organization so dangerous. Like no other terrorist organization before it, ISIS is able to destroy and take over large areas in Iraq and Syria. Imagine what this organization can do if it gets a hold of nuclear weapons. ISIS also has a large amount of funding. According to ABC, ISIS has $1 billion in oil revenue alone. This huge budget proves that ISIS is not a joke and has the monetary power to expand its force and put its ideals into more and more people. Additionally, the huge and powerful ISIS is doing terrible things. Amnesty International has held ISIL responsible for the ethnic cleansing of numerous ethnic and religious minority groups in northern Iraq on a historic scale. In a special report released on the 2nd of September 2014, it describes how ISIS has systematically targeted non-Arab and Sunni Muslims, killing or abducting hundreds and possibly thousands. These people are known such as Assyrian Christians, Turkmen Shia, Shabak Shia, Yazidis, Kakai, and Sabian Mandeans, who have lived together for centuries in the Negev province. Additionally, the UN has held ISIS accountable for war crimes and crimes against humanity. These crimes echo what Nazi Germany was charged with, and if the United States does not go in to stop ISIS, it can be simply devastating. Lastly, ISIS has a large network of ruthless fighters. As I stated earlier, ISIS has 200,000 plus fighters. All these fighters are extremely passionate and willing to do anything for their cause, which unfortunately is bad news for the United States. Fuad Hussein, the Chief of Staff of Iraqi Kurdish President Masoud Barzani, told the UK Independent in an exclusive interview, "They will fight until death. And they are so dangerous because they're extremely well trained. For instance, they have the best snipers, because not only do they have extremely good accuracy, but they have patience. They are willing to sit for over 5 hours at a time in order to defeat their opponents." What Carter should do is work with allies in the Middle East to stop ISIS. Nowadays, wars are being fought without guns and missiles. Cyber warfare is the greatest threat facing the United States now, outstripping even terrorism, according to a poll by the defensive and military and national security leaders. A sign that warnings about an imminent cyber Pearl Harbor are not a joke. But the classic fear is that enemy hackers from countries such as Iran, China, or Russia could infiltrate the United States power grid, shutting down government agencies and crashing planes into buildings, grinding the economy to a halt. And although it is yet to happen, security experts say a large-scale attack on the U.S. power grid that could inflict mass casualties is within the realm of possibility. The North American Reliability Corporation reported in 2009 that the U.S. grid remains susceptible to infiltration. We do have a security problem whereby life is rushing towards the internet faster than we're developing internet security, said Marquis Boyer, a government official. Many of these systems were not built in a cyber warfare age. We weren't worried about cyber warfare when we built the national power grid, and it's difficult to retrofit security. The impact of such an attack could be devastating. Massive power outages could not only unleash chaos, but could stop government or military or terrorist attacks. And it's not like cyber warfare doesn't already happen. In the US, the most prominent cyber attacks conducted by the Syrian Electronic Army infamously moved the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 140 points. Carter's actions should be to put more defensive funding towards strengthening the US's cyber networks. And although we have a military budget 4 times larger than the second largest country, which is China, we still do not focus enough capital on cybersecurity. Clearly, ISIS and cyber warfare should be Carter's 2 top priorities as defensive secretary. If Carter focuses on these 2 threats during his term, we can at least stop or slow down the reality of dystopia. Thank you.
Okay, that was 6 minutes.